How do you actually make progress on your dreams, on your goals, and on the things that you want to create in your life? Hey, my name is Nathan Hawken, and today I want to talk about what you actually have to do to make sure you are making progress towards those big goals and the things that you've set out for yourself to achieve. Now, if you're new to the channel, please like this video, leave a comment below if this is resonating with you, and of course hit the subscribe button and hit the notification button just to keep you up to date with any new videos that I put out. Also, if you are looking for a little bit of extra help in regards to your own self-belief, I have an ebook available for a download just below in the description there called The 5 Steps to Self-Belief Mastery. So that's available for you for free if you wish. Now, one thing I notice with a lot of the people I work with and a lot of the people I train is that they struggle to know what to do once they've set themselves a goal or something they want to achieve, or once they've got past their own limitations and their own self-belief challenges and their own confidence challenges and things like that. They really don't know what the next step is, which is part of the reason why they hire a coach anyway. But they struggle because even though they know now what they want to create and they feel better about creating it because they've let a lot of their own insecurities go and a lot of their self-belief has started to be more uplifting and more empowering, now it's time for the brass tacks. Now it's time for the actual implication of the things which they need to do in order to get there. And now the problem comes when each day life starts getting in the way. And this happens a lot anytime I do like an intensive session where I sit down with a client for about 8 hours and I work through all their challenges and all their problems and help them let them go. But it's what happens afterwards. Because you may notice this yourself when you've read a book on personal development, or you've gone to a seminar, or you've gone through a course, and you've given yourself that time and space to work on you. The thing which is the big challenge afterwards is actually going out into the world and applying it and making it stick, because life does start to get into the way. And even though you've gone through a course or you've done something within inside yourself, there is still a log of habits and patterns which are still inside you. Even though you may have broken a few patterns already and you've changed a few habits, you still need that time to implement them and make sure that you're starting to enforce them and they're starting to become new habits and you're starting to write new patterns. And this takes a bit of time. And when you go back into the world and life is just being life, and you've got family and you've got friends and you've got people and you've got external circumstances and events which happen in the world which dictate some of the things that you can and can't do, that's where the challenge really lies, because it can be difficult to get on top of yourself and overcome them, because even though you want to rewrite your patterns and you want to create these beliefs and you've made a lot of internal shifts on the inside and you've let go of a lot of self-beliefs and doubts and things like that which weren't serving you, what do you do next? Like, how do you maintain that moving forward? What is it that you can actually do which is practical inside you every day to make sure that what you have created for yourself and the changes that you made, how do you make them stick? Because this is where most people fall short. You know, they get the buzz and they maybe go to the seminar or they go to the big event, they get really motivated, and that motivation sticks around for a week or maybe 2 weeks, sometimes maybe even a month if you're really good at hanging on to it. But then as things start to slowly creep in, it can be very easy to fall back into those old patterns and old habits, right? You've probably been there before. I know I've been there before myself, and even today when I try and start a new habit or break an old habit that wasn't really working for me or start a new pattern, I can struggle as well. I mean, I've got a family and I've got kids and people in my life who can be distraction, and sometimes it feels like there's always something taking my attention away from what I want to do and the work I want to do on myself. But you know what? That's part of the challenge. We need to be able to overcome that somehow. But a lot of people don't. A lot of people tend to go back to the old way of thinking. Even though they've made shifts and they've made changes, they can still revert back to those old things because they stop doing some of the fundamentals which lay the foundation for the new you, if you want to call it that, like the new you. And this is one thing which I talk a lot about and I try and help people with and help them understand more importantly, is that what you're doing when you're making changes and shifts and you're starting to live a different life or a better version of yourself, you have to remember that you've knocked down the building and now you've dug out that hole and you're laying a new foundation. People think that they've created this life or this version of themselves, that's the building metaphor, this version of themselves. They think once they've changed a few things and they can just rebuild on that building. And that's not entirely true. The best way to look at it is you are knocking that down. What you're taking is the blueprints with that. Like you're like, you know what, this happened. You're taking the learning and the education that you've got from your life and what you've had up until that time, and even with the changes that you've made. But essentially what you're doing is you've got to knock that building down and you've got to dig up that hole. So all that's left is a vacant lot. Now, this is where the new foundational work is done, because you've got to lay the foundation, you've got to pour the concrete, then you can rebuild. And so what that means for you in your life and where you're at now is the foundation is always going to be your area of complete strength, because as you grow, and if you've got a solid foundation for this new growth and this new you, as you grow and build upon that, even if something happens and some of it gets knocked down or some of it gets destroyed, you've still got a strong foundation there, which isn't going to stop you. It's not going to move. It's there permanently now until the time comes when maybe you do want to knock it down and dig that up and do an even better version of you. And so when you're laying the foundation like that, you've got to remember that this happens incrementally, but consistently. So when you think about their foundation, you have to realize that what you're building now is the strength upon what's going to come later on. What that means is that this doesn't just happen now. This isn't just one thing where you can just quickly do and then move on. This is slowly but surely going to build into something bigger. And you have to remember that the long game is something that you are playing when it comes to your own personal growth, your own professional growth, and your own development, because there's no shortcuts to it. I mean, you can't skimp out on a building job just to pay rock bottom prices and have a really nice strong building built. It doesn't work like that, because the foundation cracks, the building falls, and it all crumbles. And the last thing you ever want for yourself is to have you crumbling in a position where you just can't build from it again. And so you have to remember that this is consistent daily work that you now have to do. And so when it comes to the progress that you want to make within your goals and in building this new version of yourself, remember that the foundation takes time, and what you're building on top of it takes time as well. And the only way that you're going to be able to build that successfully with strength that's empowering for you is to make sure that you are doing it consistently. That just every single day you're doing one little thing that's contributing to the strength of your foundation and what you're building upon it. And this is the test, because this is where a lot of people fall down, because they don't develop the discipline to do something daily. They give themselves a break or they let themselves off the hook. That's why they go to a massive seminar, they get totally motivated, they come back, they spend a week in that motivation, and then slowly but surely life starts to get in the way and they stop doing those things which they did during that time. A seminar goes on for a day, 2 days, 5 days, 7 days, depends on where you go for it. But that happens, the growth that happens in there happens because you're there, you're in it, you're doing it every day, and you've given yourself that time. And so that's what you have to do. You have to give yourself time every single day to work on you and strengthen that foundation to build upon afterwards. And so what does that mean? Well, for you, the only thing you really have to do now to build this foundation, to make sure that you are progressing towards your goals and the dreams that you've set out for yourself, is to be doing one small action that's going to take you towards it every single day. That is the key. Now, this is something I had to learn the hard way myself, because I stopped doing the little things from time to time. There was a few disciplines I never installed upon myself, and I just stopped doing those little things each day to make sure that I was progressing. And so my goals started to get longer and longer and further away, and I slipped out of what I needed to do. And so what you need to do is just think about, well, what is one thing that I can do today? What's one small thing? If you're starting from the beginning, that's all it takes. One small thing. Maybe it's just read one page from one book that is going to contribute to learning one new skill that's going to help you to become the person you need to be to get the goal that you want to have. Or maybe it's just enrolling for a course. Maybe it's watching a video to learn something. Maybe it's just giving yourself time to get clear about your goals, or clear about what's holding you back, or clear about what's stopping you right now, to make sure that you can let all that stuff go. One small action on a day-to-day basis builds into bigger actions and more of them later on. And when you're starting to begin this new way of thinking and start doing things daily, this is you rewriting your pattern, or it's breaking the old one. Now it's writing a new pattern. Because once you develop a discipline of doing something daily, this starts to become your new habit. And the more you do it, the harder it is not to do it. Does that make sense? Is there anything that you do consistently now which you didn't wish you do, but it's easy to do, like procrastinating or turning the TV on or something like that? But it's easy to do because you've done it so many times before. And so it's hard to start off with when you're starting something new and you're trying to install a new habit. But as you progressively do it, and that's what this does, this conditions your mind. As you progressively do it, day in and day out, even just one small thing, you're programming your mind to do that, to accept that that's what you have to do every day. And it's supposed to feel bad when you don't do it. I mean, this is something people try to avoid a lot as well, is that it's that uncomfortable feeling of not doing something. You know, when you're supposed to do something that you want to do, but you don't do and it feels bad. That's actually good. That's actually quite empowering. And that's a position I want you to get to, because that's a position that I got within myself, particularly when I started to get back into my own fitness regime. I was like, you know what? I want to make sure I'm doing like 100 push-ups every single day. Okay, cool. If I skipped, or if I stopped short, or if I skipped one day, that's supposed to feel bad. Like, it's like, oh no, I can't believe I skipped that day. Don't beat yourself up too bad, but just think, you know what, that's not good. This is not consistent. This is not leading me towards where I want to go. And it's the same with your goals as well. If you're doing one consistent, if you're acting on one thing every single day, then you're building up the momentum, you're building up the strength within inside yourself, you're rewriting the patterns and the habits inside yourself, and all it takes is one small action every single day. Then this will be the new normal for you. Now, one thing just to think about is doing the action on the day sporadically can lead to you being overwhelmed or not thinking about or getting unsure about what the actual action is. So have you ever come to the time, it's like, you know what, I need to work on my business, or I know I need to study something, or I know I need to learn something. What am I actually going to do? It's like, oh, it's 11:30 at night, I've got half an hour left to do this one thing because I've been so busy during the day. What am I going to do? So you spend that next 30 minutes kind of figuring out what it is. And so to combat that, all you need to do is actually think in advance about what you actually need to get done. Don't think of everything that you need to get done. You just think about maybe one or two things, like I need to upskill, or I need to learn something, or I need to reach out to someone or something, or anything like that. But just create a list of like 3 or 4 things that you know you need to do to get to where you want to be. They're not going to be everything you need to be, because that's going to overwhelm, but you keep it nice and simple. You think, what's 1 or 2 things I need to do this week to get done? Okay, then break that down into a few little sections. That way, when the day comes, you're like, right, I need to do one thing. What can I do? Well, I've got on my list here that I need to read this book about business. Okay, cool. I haven't started it yet, so I'll read the first chapter, all right? Or I need to learn a little bit about marketing. Well, okay, I'll just jump on YouTube and watch a marketing video. So once you've got that list there, it means you're coming in prepared and you know what to do, and it's not going to stop you from doing it when the time comes. Now, I hope this video has been of value to you. Please let me know in the comments any questions or thoughts, and if this is resonating with you, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe and notifications. If you are looking for a little bit of extra help, you can check out my group on Facebook called Mindset Potential, where I am doing live videos and extra content in there, which is different to the stuff I do here. And also in the description below, you can access the group and my new ebook, 5 Steps to Self-Belief Mastery. Cool, thanks for watching. Chat to you soon.